Alright, now that we have this mostly complete, we're going to flip her over. So, just with the help of our buddy, turn it over, pick it up, and in theory you'll have a nice, level, almost complete sewing machine stand. Now your bolts will be up here. We haven't tightened none of this. The stand's tightened, foot pedal's tightened, and we'll go on to the next step. Alright, so we have our fuse and our motor brushes and our extra brake for the motor. Now's the time to open up the drawer, drop them in. Here's a little bag of hardware. Let's go through that. Have a oil can for you fill this up out of the big oil jug. Go in the drawer. Two handy dandy screwdrivers for doing adjustments. Drawer. Don't know. We'll figure that out later. This is the knee lift mushroom. We're going to need that in a minute. In this baggie, we have some bobbins. We have a handy dandy magnet that someone felt you needed. And then this is a couple needles. From the manufacturer, all it comes with 2 or 3 needles that you usually get there. So that goes in the drawer. So close the drawer. Alright, what we have here is the motor connector rod. It's got this little slide thingy on it. Take it off. There's a couple different variations. One's a spring loaded with a hook, and some actually have a nut with a ball joint. Just depends on what you get. We have where we put this little hook on there earlier, and hook that in there, and then this little going this way like that. And you know what? You can do it backwards if you want to. It really doesn't matter. The instructions are really specific on these, which means there are no instructions. So, you got it like this. You got your foot pedal up, as high as we'll go. Put this bad boy back on here. Alright, so tighten that up just so it's kind of snug. You want to hold these two together. Still got this loose. Put it about in the middle. This one takes a 14 millimeter wrench. It may be a little different. Just snug it. Alright, so now we have it. Watch, you push down, you actuate the motor right here. Okay? So now what we need to do is, it doesn't matter if this is perfectly straight or to the side. I like it straight, but they're made to where they can be at an angle. If you want to move this over farther, one way or the other, it's okay for this to be at an angle. I like it straight. It's up to your preference. Now's a good time. This is a multi-speed motor. Now's a good time. It comes from the factory set at the highest speed. Click it off that speed and turn it down. Leave it about a quarter way up. If you turn on your machine right there, it's going to go lightning fast. I like it slow, so turn it down to start with. Now we can tighten these up. That should be 2 10 millimeter wrenches. And we'll get it tight. Now we can take our wrench and snug these up a little more. Do a little test. Now we're going to pull the machine out of the box. This thing's heavy. If you need help, attempt it yourself. It weighs about 70 pounds. This way, reach in here, grab hold of the middle thing, and yank, and you're out. Now, down the bottom of the box, ooh, hey, some instructions. Misconception, these aren't instructions, these are really the part book and exploded diagram. Handy if you're going to order parts, but not today. Down further in the box is a pan. This is the oil pan. Now, this oil pan has these little black round things. They're just for shipping. So you'll see they're kind of glued or not glued. Take them, throw them off. Now you have a oil seal around here. Make sure it's not torn or damaged. It'll have a seam or two in it, but it should be glued in place. And then just kind of shake out the styrofoam. This mechanism is the knee lift mechanism. It should already be pre-assembled. Now, the pan is going to fit in, and it fits in orientated like this, with the cutout for the bobbin on the left side. Then dig through your pile, and here is your hinges and rubbers. Open up the bag. Hinge, so it's the side. Rubber, rubber, hinge, hinge, rubber, rubber. Now this is where most people make mistakes. See how we have an oblong hole here and no hole here. So the little piece is for the back, and the big piece is for the front. Okay. Now take the little piece, and you actually have to slide them onto the pan first. So we got all four slid onto the pan. Then we take it, angle it in there, and work them in. You try and put the pan in first, and then the rubbers, it ain't gonna work. And it's a tight fit. It ain't supposed to be really loose. So you're gonna have to work them in there. Alright. Now, it's not totally flush. It's up a 1/16 of an inch, and that's the way it's supposed to be. Alright. So, got the pan in. Try and get your little styrofoam beads out of there before you fill up with oil. Alright, here's the mushroom for the knee lift. It goes in that hole. I get a bunch of phone calls from people saying, oh, my knee lift don't work, because you ain't got that in there. Simple. Drop in and you're done. If you want to get the glue off, you can get the glue off. It won't hurt a thing. So, that's it for the pan. Now at this point, I take our styrofoam, and our box is empty, except for our styrofoam. Put that back in there, and I will tape up that box and put it away in case you ever have to ship the machine or want to move. You have a good thing to put the machine back in. Now our hinges, these are rubbers for our hinges. They just snap in, or not snap in, but slide in. And those slide in there. Alright, we'll save these for later. Alright, so we have our knee lift package, which is a round circle thingy. And they could be gray, black, white. Dump everything out. Watch out for staples, they hurt. Alright, so here we're laying out our parts. There we go. Alright, so we have the rubber knee pad. We have the backer plate. There's a little groove cut in the plastic right here all the way around. And we've got to work this backer plate into the plastic. A little tight, but it'll go in. Squeeze her on there, and you'll see it starting to come back to a circle. There we go. So we have the backer plate on the knee lift pad. Now we have our knee lift arm. proper orientation is like that. We have our little clamp, and what we'll do, that clamp goes in here like this. Like that. And then we put a rod through the clamp. And we tighten that up. Takes a 10mm wrench. Just snug it up a little bit. So now we have this assembled. Now, for some reason, if this isn't on, it's real easy. It slides right on. And when you do your orientation, you want it with this bolt facing you. And just give it a little snug. Don't tighten it tight. Then this top one, loosen it all the way up so you can see straight through it. Alright, then we're going to put it on. Alright, so this is the post that the knee lift goes on. And it's real easy. Slide it on there. Alright, and you can adjust this later, but for now, I put it just at a slight angle. And we're going to tighten, pull it out till you're flush with this post. And just tighten it up. Remember, don't tighten the bejeebers out of it. Just give it a good snug. Alright, make sure everything's working. Snug that one up. Snug that one up. And when we get up and start sewing, we'll adjust this later. Back up under in here, this should all be pre-adjusted already to work properly. Alright, so now we're going to work on the thread stand. It comes in a package. Let's open her up. We have the thread stand post. We have the thread cups. This is the upper and lower arm. You can tell the difference between the upper. This is the upper arm because it has the thread guides, and this is the lower arm that the thread cups will sit on. Hardware bag. These are the thread post. These are the holders that fit inside the thread cup, and this is the coupling. This is a little safety cap for the top. Alright, easiest way to do this is the bottom, because it's got the threads. This is where it goes to the table. So what I like to do is take the bottom thread cup holder, slide it on there. Now, this is the coupling so that you can couple this to this. Alright, so I like to take that and put it right, a little bit under the coupling. And then we're going to tighten it up. Now, in theory, we've got a little nipple right here that holds a nut. Sometimes it holds a nut, sometimes it don't. So you can use a cross-point screwdriver and just tighten that up. Now, if your nut does spin, you can just use an 8mm wrench to hold the nut. Just got to tighten it enough so it'll stay. Alright. Then we take our coupling. I like to put the coupling with the flange towards the inside. Again, we're just going to tighten at the bottom. Alright, so we got that coupling on. Now you take the top, and we have the top thread guide, and you slide it on there. And you can see there's a little ledge and that goes towards the top. Then we come up here, come an inch from the top, and screw it on. Now, we take the two and we made them together. And it doesn't have to be perfectly aligned because you can twist it around later. Alright, so now we have it that far. Next part is your thread post. Unscrew it. You have a lock washer and a nut. You have your thread cup. You have this foam pad that keeps your cone from spinning. Put that over. And if you see, you got a little notch cut out right there. And you got two little ears here, and so it fits in that notch. Come in, push it through until you see till the ears come through. All right. Now you take it and you put it through. Put your lock washer on and your nut. Alright, do the same to the other, then we'll take it. Alright, this is an 8mm wrench. Snug it up. Alright, then these little caps slide right on. They're a little stiff, they're supposed to be. Yep. Alright. So now that you have this all put together, we've got to take the bolt off the bottom. Now, you've got this little mushroom shaped thing. You put one washer on. Now, all of them come with this rubber washer, which I don't like. So I don't put it on because you're supposed to put it on here, but it gives a little flex in the movement. Some people like it, I don't. I leave that off. So, slide that through the hole. Turn it over this way. Put one washer underneath. Put the nut on under here. Now at this point, I just finger tighten it. You can come back and use a crescent wrench and tighten it when you get it where you know, orientated where you want it. Alright, the next thing we have to do is get the head and put it in the machine. And it comes wrapped up. It's pre-oiled on the bottom, so don't set it down on your carpet. Put it down on a piece of cardboard or something like that. I got a block in here, throw that away. Now you have the two hinges. They're identical. You got a little hole right here. That hinge, stick it in that hole. Stick that one in that hole. Alright, important step. If you try and do this where you're holding it up in the air, not going to work. So the best way to pick it up, one hand on the hand wheel, slide your fingers in underneath the feet by the needle. See how I got it right there? Alright, and then lift with your legs, not your back. Now we come over and just set it straight in and set those hinges. Sometimes you gotta reach over there and push it in, and the head set in. Alright, now we've got the machine set in place. We have to line up this pulley with the motor pulley. And it's kind of hard to see in there, but there it is. You can see the motor pulley. So we just got to eyeball it. And right now I can tell that it's not quite lined up. It needs to go that way. So we come over here to the motor, and we just kind of, I have to loosen it up a little bit. My finger tight was too tight. Alright, we're just going to kind of wiggle the motor. You can see it'll move back and forth. Alright. And then we come back over here. We're just eyeballing it right now. Well, it looks pretty close. Now we take our belt and we put it over our motor, put it down in there, and then we come under here. And the first thing we got to do is we got to loosen this. That nut right there. Alright, that one should all be loose, so that lets us go back and forth. And see, our belt won't fit on our motor because it has to come forward for it to fit. See, it's still tight, doesn't want to do it. So in this case, we rock the head back and slip the belt over the motor. There we go. So we now have the belt on the motor. We're going to go back up top and check for alignment. So all we're doing here is checking to make sure we're coming a straight line. And I can see my belt kind of going that way a little bit. So we need to slide the motor over just a smidge. Doesn't have to be wholly scientific. Give it a little tap. Much better. So we've got her pretty good line there. I went too far. Look at that. I don't know if you can see the little bow in the belt, but I actually went a little too far. Yep. So come over here, wiggle it back another 1/16 of an inch, and that looks pretty good. Now at this point we need to tighten the motor. We've got the belt aligned, and we just need to come in here with a 14mm wrench and tighten the motor. Now what you're going to see right here, there's a little gap because these are carriage bolts, and we're going to tighten it until these sink down into the table. So it's going to be a few turns. Now I feel it's getting tight, and I don't want to really tighten it too much. I just want to flatten that little split washer, because these are vibration isolators, and it'll keep the motor from vibrating the table. So just a good hard snug, and then do the other three, or the other two, excuse me. There we have it. Now we need to adjust the motor belt tension. And we have the top nut here and the bottom nut. And this actually tightens us down. Push pressure down on the motor belt and tightens it up. This is just the locking nut. So we just want to kind of finger tighten it And we want a 1/2 inch of play still in this thing. We don't want to get it too tight. So it's just kind of a feel. Still a little loose, but enough to grip. Now, this belt can stretch over time, so after you use it for a month or two, you may need to come down here and do this again and adjust it a little tighter. Now run this nut back up and tighten it, and that locks the motor in place. Now if you get the belt too tight, you put strain on the bearings, on everything, and you can actually tighten it so much you rock the machine back in its cradle. So just a nice 1/2 inch of clearance. This is a good time to check the motor speed. When they come from the factory, they're all the way on full speed. So click it and turn it down to about 900 or something. In a walking foot machine, they're not made to go that fast. This is a multi-speed motor for use on all different machines. So if you're doing these t-shirt machines that just fly by, yeah, you're going to run it up here. But a walking foot is made to run down the 900 to 1200 RPM mode. So about right there's where you want to start. You can turn it all the way down to 0. You can have it just barely up. You can play with that to get where you want your maximum speed to be. So I usually do that right off the bat. Alright, it's time to put on the belt guard. We have belt guard and our 3 gold screws from earlier. We've got 3 holes, 1, 2, 1 on the other side. And real simple. Got these slots, stick the screws through the slot and screw it on. Usually I take the screwdriver, they're a little tricky to thread in, and get them started. You may have to lay down on your back to do it. Get it, buddy. Just get them lined up. 2 on this side started. You can tighten them up. You don't want to tighten up too much, just enough so they're snug and this belt guard doesn't drift around. You want to line that belt guard up so that it's clearing the belt on the top side so it doesn't rub. And if you make a mistake and you turn the machine on and it rubs, you just come loosen these screws and rotate the belt guard so it's not touching the belt on the top side or the front side. There, we're done. Alright, you got a bottle of oil in your package. It's not going to be full. They only put enough that you need. And once you got everything done, you're settled and happy with what everything's going on. Tilt your machine back, lay it back, and you're going to want to fill. I'm not going to do it now because it's in my showroom. But you're going to want to fill this oil pan right here. There's a low and a high line right here. It says oil, low, high. So you're going to pour some of this oil in there, and anywhere between low and high. I'd never fill them all the way up to high. I kind of put it right in the middle. Make sure though you wipe out your pan. Make sure there's no contaminants in there because there's packing styrofoam beads and you may have dropped something else in there. So you fill that with oil, and you'll have a little left over, and you can put it in your little oiler bottle for oiling the back of it, and then keep the rest for later. Alright, if you're sitting on an unlevel surface, these feet here, you can screw them in or out to level the machine. If you got a dip in your concrete or something, but all 4 feet are screw in and out for leveling. Alright, so we're pretty much finished, and we ended up with several nuts and screws. I call these pocket bolts. They're nice enough to send us a few extras in case we lose one. So just recycle those or keep them for future use.